Hello and welcome to Scriptures Unlocked. The previous presentations in this series have laid the foundation in proving that the Trinity doctrine is false and unbiblical. Using only the scriptures, it was proven beyond a shadow of a doubt that there is only one God, the Father. And that is according to 1 Corinthians chapter 8 and verse 6. We also looked at the fact that Jesus is not the second person of the Trinity, called quote unquote God the Son, but is indeed the only begotten Son of God. It was also revealed that the Holy Spirit is not a third divine being, but rather the invisible presence of both the Father and the Son. The next set of presentations in this series on the Trinity Doctrine Refuted will focus on some of the commonly cited verses used in support of the Trinity doctrine to prove that the Christian community have misunderstood these verses. This presentation will show that the Hebrew word Elohim does not prove that God is a Trinity of persons. Friends, persons have used the Hebrew word Elohim to posit the erroneous argument that God is a plurality of persons. However, the scripture is absolutely clear that the only true God is a single divine being, the Father. I want you to listen to the argument being made by Pastor Doug Batchelor of Amazing Facts Ministries in this video entitled, notice the title, Mystery of the Trinity. I want you to notice his comments where Pastor Doug references Genesis chapter 1, verse 26 by stating in part, and I quote, God is communicating himself to us as a plural God because he's composed of these three persons, and this is a mystery. At this time, I will share my screen and I will show you and allow you to listen for yourself the arguments being made by Pastor Doug. Listen to his arguments.
Can Christians be right saying there's one God, and yet saying one doesn't always mean one? And that's the thing to understand. And this isn't double talk, this is good scripture. Again, I'm just giving you a few verses. For instance, right in the beginning, Genesis 1:26, God says, let us make man in our image according to our likeness. Now, do you hear more than one in that? Do you know the word that's used there in Hebrew for God is Elohim? That word Elohim is plural. It's like we, us. Whenever I say that, then if I say, we are going to the store, Karen would say, who are you going with? Well, I'm talking about myself. You'd say, what's wrong with it? Doug's talking about we. Has he become schizophrenic? He's got split personality problems. But so when God says this, it's not because God is confused. The primary word used for God over 2,700 times in the Bible is Elohim. It's the plural. There is the other word El, which is singular, but the inspired writers chose to use Elohim 10 times more than El. This is all through mostly the Old Testament. It's a plural. God is communicating himself to us as a plural God because he is composed of these three persons. Now, this is a mystery, and it may still be a mystery when we're done.
So there you heard it for yourself, friends. Pastor Doug is saying that God is communicating himself to us as a plural God because he's composed of these three persons, and it's a mystery. Friends, words have meaning, and mystery by definition is anything that cannot be explained. So the argument that is often used by Trinitarians to say that God being a Trinity is a mystery is something that cannot be explained. So I think they should stop trying to explain it. If it's a mystery, it cannot be explained. Let me show you the definition of what mystery is. Notice the definition of mystery according to dictionary.com. Mystery: anything that is kept secret or remains unexplained or unknown. That's the first definition. Any affair, thing, or person that presents features or qualities so obscure as to arouse curiosity or speculation. The fifth definition is any truth that is unknowable except by divine revelation. So that, my friends, is the dictionary's definition of mystery. And what is interesting to note, by saying that God is a mystery, or the doctrine of the Trinity is a mystery, is to say that Jesus failed in his mission, because one of Jesus's reasons for coming to earth was to declare to us who the Father is. And Jesus tells us very clearly who his Father is. He told us in John 17, verse 3, and he says, "This is life eternal, that they might know thee, the only true God, and Jesus Christ, whom thou hast sent." Jesus identified his Father as the only true God, one single individual being. Notice I'd like to share with you before getting into proving that Elohim does not support the Trinity. Let me show you Matthew chapter 11, verse 27. Notice what Jesus said. Jesus said this, "All things are delivered unto me of my Father, and no man knoweth the Son but the Father. Neither knoweth any man the Father save the Son, and he to whomsoever the Son will reveal him." So Jesus came to reveal his Father. Notice what John wrote in John chapter 1, verse 18. John wrote, "No man hath seen God at any time. The only begotten Son, who is Jesus, which is in the bosom of the Father, he hath declared him," or he hath revealed him. So my friends, Jesus came to reveal the Father to us. Jesus came to reveal the Father, and Jesus told us who the Father is. The Father is the only true God, and he's a single divine being, not a plurality of persons. So let's now go to the notes that I've prepared. So Pastor Doug said in his own words, and you heard him for yourself, that God is communicating himself to us as a plural God because he's composed of these three persons, and this is a mystery. Friends, the Trinitarian view claims that all three persons, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, played a role in creation, but that is not correct. According to scriptures, creation is attributed to only two divine beings, the Father and the Son. In Genesis chapter 1, verse 26, God the Father was speaking to his Son when he said, "Let us make man in our image after our likeness." Beloved, notice again this verse which identifies their relationship in Proverbs chapter 30. Reading from verse 4. Notice what Agur wrote. "Who hath ascended up into heaven, or descended? Who hath gathered the wind in his fists? Who hath bound the waters in a garment? Who hath established all the ends of the earth? What is his name? And what is his son's name, if thou canst tell?" So creation is attributed to two divine beings, the Father and his Son, and they both have a name. The Father is called Yehovah, or Jehovah in English, and the Son is called Yeshua in Hebrew, or Jesus in English. Paul also tells us in Ephesians 3, reading from verse 9, this, "And to make all men see what is the fellowship of the mystery, which from the beginning of the world hath been hid in God, who created all things by Jesus Christ." So the Father, who is God, created all things by Jesus Christ, because only two beings were involved in creation. And notice this verse. This verse uses mystery. And notice what the verse says. The mystery which from the beginning of the world had been hid in God, but God chose to reveal it to us by his Son, or through his Son. So a mystery by definition is something that cannot be explained, or something that is not known, but it can be revealed. And to say that who God is a mystery, is to say that Jesus failed in revealing the Father to us, but that is not true. Jesus revealed in plain terms who his Father is, and his Father is the only true God, a single divine being. Genesis chapter 1, verse 26, the pronouns that are used, the us and our, that are used are referring to the Father and his Son, two beings, not three, as is commonly believed. The pronouns us and our clearly means more than one, but many Trinitarians have rather conveniently chosen to forget that two is also more than one. Therefore, my friends, in Genesis chapter 1, verse 26, God the Father was speaking to his Son by using the object pronoun us, as well as the possessive adjective our, when referring to their image and likeness. Notice the pronouns chart below, which shows first, second, and third person language. God the Father spoke using the first person plural. I've done a chart, and this is some English lesson. And here you are seeing 5 columns, one showing the subject pronouns, the object pronouns, the possessive adjectives, possessive pronouns, and the reflexive pronouns. We all know that first person language is I. Second person language, singular, is you. Third person singular is he, she, or it. He is the masculine, she is the feminine, and it is the neuter. First person plural is we. Second person plural is you, and third person plural is they. And you can see the chart. Object pronouns, me, you, him, her. That's a first person, second person, and third person singular. Us is the first person plural. So when God said, let us, he's speaking in the first person plural because he's speaking to his Son. And he used the possessive adjective, our. Let us make man in our image, after our likeness. He was using the first person plural, our. So my friends, you can see the chart on the screen. First person, second person, third person singular, and you have the first person plural, second person plural, and third person plural. Let's now show that Elohim does not prove the Trinity. It is absolutely true that Elohim, the Hebrew word for God, is the plural form of the singular Eloha, which is derived from El. However, if we look carefully at how the word is used in the scriptures, we will quickly realize that Elohim can either be singular or plural in meaning. If you were to look up the word for God in the concordance, it will reveal that the Hebrew word Elohim, which is Strong's H 430, occurs 2,606 times in the scriptures. And it is translated as God, referring to the true God, 2,346 times. And God, lowercase g, 244 times in the scriptures. At this time, let's go to Genesis chapter 1, verse 1. The first place where God is mentioned. It says, in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. God here is Strong's H 430. Here is the Hebrew script, Elohim. This letter is Aleph, which is it can either be A or E. This is Lamed. This dot that you're seeing is a Olem, which is the O. This is the He. This is the Yod. And this is the Mem, the final form. So it's Elohim, Elohim, and it is pronounced this way.
Strong's H 430, entry 1. Eloach. Eloach. Second entry, Elohim. Elohim. And the third entry, Eloach. Eloach.
So Eloah is a singular, and Elohim is the plural. And here you notice the masculine noun, plural of Eloah. It occurs 2,606 times. It is translated as God, referring to the only true God 2,346 times. It is also used for false gods or idols 244 times. It is also translated as judge 5 times, goddess 2 times, great 2 times, mighty 2 times, angels once, exceeding once. Outline of biblical usage. It's a plural form. It can mean rulers, judges, divine ones, angels, gods. It is a plural intensive word with a singular meaning. Very important. It can also be translated as God, goddess, godlike one, works or special possessions of God, and it is used for the true God, and God with a capital G. So my friends, Elohim is a Hebrew word that can be translated in a number of ways. Context and the sentence structure will determine whether Elohim is either singular or plural, as we shall see as we proceed in the presentation. An important point to note is that Elohim is a plural intensive word with a singular meaning, which denotes greatness. Friends, in English, we pluralize our words by simply adding an S, ES or IES, as in bats, churches, and stories. However, in Hebrew, the plural of masculine nouns end with the suffix IM, such as cherubim, seraphim, and shamayim. So cherub is one angel, and a cherub is an angel with 4 wings. Seraphim, or flaming ones, are angels with 6 wings. A seraph is a single angel. Seraphim are more than one angels with 6 wings. Shamayim is the Hebrew word for sky or heaven. Therefore, my friends, Hebrew authors would use Elohim, the plural form, when ascribing or expressing greatness to the one true God. This is what grammarians refer to as pluralis majestatis, or plural of majesty, or majestic plural. Friends, Elohim simply denotes the greatness of God and has absolutely nothing to do with God being a unity of 3 co-eternal persons, as Trinitarians claim. Elohim, Strong's H 430, is always, I repeat, is always used in the singular form when referring to the only true God, that is God the Father. Therefore, Elohim is never used as a numerical plural when God the Father is being spoken about. Just like in other languages, there must also be subject-verb agreement in Hebrew. So a numerical plural noun will receive 3 things. 1, a plural suffix, such as the IM. 2, a plural verb. And 3, a plural adjective. Therefore, my friends, if the word Elohim were really a numerical plural noun, then the associated verb and adjective would also be plural in form. However, that's not what we find in the scriptures, because Genesis chapter 1 proves that we are dealing with a single individual. Notice the Hebrew script of Genesis chapter 1, verse 1 below. And here you are seeing the Hebrew script. This is Genesis 1, verse 1. It is Bereshit bara Elohim, et hashamayim ve'et haaretz. And it simply means, in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. The verb bara, which means created, is in the 3rd person singular, but has been conjugated in the past tense. The word Elohim appears 32 times in the 31 verses found in Genesis chapter 1. But notice that the pronouns used in the very first chapter of the scriptures are all 3rd person singular. Let me just show you quickly. Genesis chapter 1. This is Genesis chapter 1. If I were to search for God, you will notice that the word God appears 32 times in Genesis chapter 1 alone, 31 times. So notice Genesis chapter 1. Genesis chapter 1, reading from verse 5. So I've just showed you that the word God appears 32 times in 31 verses in Genesis chapter 1 alone. And the word for God is Elohim. Notice Genesis 1 verse 5. And God called the light day, and the darkness he, third person singular, called night. And the evening and the morning were the first day. Verse 10 says, and God, that is Elohim, called the dry land earth, and the gathering together of the waters called he seas. And God saw that it was good. Verse 16 of Genesis chapter 1. And God, Elohim, made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night. He made the stars also. Genesis chapter 1, verse 27. So God, Elohim, created man in his own image. In the image of God, Elohim, created he him. Male and female created he them. Notice I'm stressing the third person singular pronouns. The pronouns he and his should tell us that only one individual is being spoken about because the third person singular is used. Friends, viewers, if Elohim were a numerical plural, then the verses would have to read they and their to indicate that a multiplicity of persons are being referenced. However, that's not the case because God the Father is the creator, but he created all things by his Son, Jesus Christ. And that is proven by Ephesians 3 verse 9, which we read earlier. Again, my friends, Elohim can either be singular or plural because it is the Hebrew word that's used for the only true God. It's also used for false gods. It is sometimes used for angels, but it is not the main word for angels. The main Hebrew word for angel is malach, as well as it is used for human beings such as judges. But it's also not the main Hebrew word that is used for judges. The main Hebrew word for judges is shaphat. So my friends, Elohim can be translated in these following ways. It can refer to the only true God. It can refer to false gods or idols. It can be referred to angels, and it can refer to human beings as well. Therefore, my friends, it is the context that will determine whether Elohim should be singular or plural. Additionally, Elohim is the word that is used to denote greatness by the Hebrew authors. Let's now prove this from the scriptures by looking at Exodus chapter 7. But before going to Exodus chapter 7, I want to go to Exodus chapter 4, because this sets the stage for what God would say to Moses in Exodus chapter 7. Exodus chapter 4, verse 10. And the context of this passage is when God appeared to Moses and he was about to send Moses to Pharaoh, to tell Pharaoh to let my people go. And notice Moses started to make a lot of excuses why he's not fit to go. So let's read from Exodus 4 verse 10. And Moses said unto Jehovah, O my Lord, I am not eloquent, neither heretofore, nor since thou hast spoken unto thy servant, but I am slow of speech and of a slow tongue. And Jehovah said unto him, Who hath made man's mouth? Or who maketh the dumb, or deaf, or the seeing, or the blind? Have not I, Jehovah? Now therefore go, and I will be with thy mouth, and teach thee what thou shalt say. And he said, O my Lord, send I pray thee by the hand of him whom thou wilt send. And the next paragraph is entitled Aaron to be Moses' mouthpiece. And the anger of Jehovah was kindled against Moses. And he said, Is not Aaron the Levite thy brother? I know that he can speak well. And also, behold, he cometh forth to meet thee. And when he seeth thee, he will be glad in his heart. And notice verse 15 and 16. And thou shalt speak unto him and put words in his mouth, and I will be with thy mouth and with his mouth, and will teach you what ye shall do. And notice verse 16, the key verse. And he shall be thy spokesman unto the people, and he shall be to thee instead of a mouth, and thou shalt be to him instead of God. So God told Moses that Aaron will be his prophet, and Moses would be to Aaron like God. Notice what transpired in Exodus chapter 7, reading from verse 1. So that was the background. So let's now prove from the scriptures that Elohim is used to denote greatness by the Hebrew authors. Exodus 7 verse 1. And Jehovah said unto Moses, see, I have made thee a God. I have made thee a Elohim to Pharaoh, and Aaron thy brother shall be thy prophet, because a prophet is simply a spokesman. Here we see God saying that he will give Moses a godlike status in the eyes of Pharaoh. Elohim in this verse refers to one person, Moses, and not a plurality of persons. The individual called Moses would speak to Pharaoh with authority through Aaron in a similar way to how the prophets spoke for God in the Old Testament. Moses certainly did not become a Trinity of Persons, because Elohim in this context simply means greatness. The fulfillment of what God meant in Exodus chapter 7 verse 1 is clearly seen in Exodus chapter 11. And you will see that Elohim simply means greatness. Exodus 11 verse 3, notice what the scriptures tell us. And Jehovah gave the people favor in the sight of the Egyptians. Moreover, the man Moses was very great in the land of Egypt, in the sight of Pharaoh's servants and in the sight of the people. So what God meant when he said that I'll make you an Elohim to Pharaoh was that God was going to make Moses very great in the land of Egypt, in the sight of Pharaoh's servant and in the sight of all the people. The clear point being made is that God magnified Moses by making him very great. Friends, viewers, other instances in the scripture where the word Elohim is used to denote greatness can be found in the following verses. Notice these verses very carefully. Genesis chapter 23, verse 6. Hear us, my Lord, thou art a mighty prince among us. In the choice of our sepulchres, bury thy dead. None of us shall be told from thee his sepulchre, but that thou mayest bury thy dead. Let me stop here and go to the original. Genesis chapter 23, verse 6. The word that is translated as mighty is Elohim. Genesis 23, verse 6. Notice the verse. Hear us, my Lord, thou art a mighty prince among us. Strong's H 430. Click on that, you'll realize that it is Elohim. There it is, Elohim. Here's the pronunciation.
Strong's H 430, entry 1. Eloach. Eloach. Second entry, Elohim.
Okay, Elohim. So notice, the Hittites were saying to Abraham, hear us, my Lord, thou art a mighty prince or a great prince. But the Hebrew word that is translated as mighty is Elohim. They were talking to Abraham, a single individual person. But the word that was translated as mighty, because Abraham was a great prince among the Hittite nation. The word mighty is the Hebrew word Elohim. Let us go back to the other verses, which proves that Elohim is used to denote greatness. So let's look at the other verse, Genesis chapter 30, verse 8. And Rachel said, with great wrestlings have I wrestled with my sister, and I have prevailed. And she called his name Naphtali. The Hebrew word that is translated as great is Elohim. Strong's H 430. And I'll show you again. Genesis chapter 30, verse 8. Strong's H 430. Genesis 30, verse 8. And Rachel said, with great wrestlings have I wrestled with my sister. Great is Strong's H 430, Elohim. Friends, Elohim is used to denote greatness. The next verse is Exodus 9, verse 28. Entreat the Lord, or entreat Jehovah, for it is enough that there be no more mighty thunderings and hail, and I will let you go, and he shall stay no longer. This is Pharaoh begging and pleading with Moses for Moses to pray to God, for God to ease up of the plagues. And he said, entreat Jehovah, for it is enough that there be no more mighty thunderings and hail. That is one of the plagues, plagues of hail. Exodus 9, verse 28. Notice this verse as well. Exodus 9, 28. Entreat Jehovah, for it is enough that there be no more mighty thunderings. The Hebrew word that is translated as mighty, Elohim, Strong's H 430. So I'm giving you the verses to prove that Elohim is used to denote greatness. 1 Samuel 14, verse 15. And there was trembling in the host, in the field, and among all the people, the garrison and the spoilers. They also trembled, and the earth quaked. So it was a very great trembling. The Hebrew word that is translated as great is Elohim. Let me prove it. It is good to prove all things. 1 Samuel 14, verse 15. 1 Samuel 14, verse 15. And there was trembling in the host, in the field, and among all the people, the garrison and the spoilers. They also trembled, and the earth quaked. So it was a great trembling. Strong's H 430. And the final verse that I will cite is Jonah chapter 3, verse 3. In this verse, exceeding is the word that was translated, but the word in Hebrew is Elohim. So Jonah arose and went unto Nineveh, according to the word of Jehovah. Now Nineveh was an exceeding great city of 3 days' journey. The Hebrew word translated as exceeding is Strong's H 430, Elohim. And I'll click on it so you can see again that it is Elohim. Here's the Hebrew script, and here is the word Elohim. So my friends, Elohim, as used in the scriptures, is used to denote greatness, not just for God the Father, who is the only true God, but it's also used of men, and it is also used of a city. Nineveh was a great city. It was not just a great city. It was an exceeding great city. Notice what the verse says. Now, Nineveh was an exceeding great city. In English, you would say it is the greatest city, using the superlative. Great, greater, greatest. The Hebrew said it was an exceeding great city of 3 days' journey. So my friends, the Hebrew word translated as mighty, great, and exceeding in those verses is Elohim, Strong's H 430, and I showed you the Hebrew word. This proves beyond any doubt that Elohim is used to ascribe greatness in general by the Hebrew authors. Once again, my friends, this is why it is always good to consult the original language of the scriptures, because just reading these verses in our English Bibles would not reveal that Elohim is the word that was translated as mighty, great, and exceeding. And that is why it is always good to consult the original language of the scriptures. Friends, viewers, while Elohim is plural in form, its meaning can either be plural or singular. And just like in English, we have similar words that can be singular or plural, such as deer and sheep. When we see sheep by itself, we cannot tell if one sheep is being referred to or a flock of sheep. Therefore, the sentence structure and grammar will help to identify if the word should be singular or plural. For example, if I were to say the sheep is lost, it lets us know that one sheep is meant, since the verb is requires a singular subject. However, if I were to say the sheep are lost, then it simply means that I am talking about more than one sheep, because are is plural. So we're talking about more than one sheep. Subject-verb agreement works the very same way in the Hebrew language. Therefore, it is the pronouns, adjectives, and prepositions that would indicate whether Elohim is a majestic plural or a numerical plural. Whenever Elohim is used for the only true God, it is always used with singular pronouns. It is always used with singular pronouns, except when he, that is the Father, is talking to his Son, as is the case in Genesis 1, verse 26, when the plural pronouns are used, us and our. And it is simply used because the Father and Son share the same divine nature. However, when referring to pagan gods, Elohim is used as a numerical plural to denote multiplicity. A perfect example of these two scenarios where a majestic plural and a numerical plural is used can be found in Exodus chapter 20. And this is the 10 Commandments. Exodus 20 verse 1. And God spake all these words, saying, I am Jehovah thy God. And the word there for God is Elohim, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Verse 3 said, thou shalt have no other Elohim before me. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. In the second commandment, the word Elohim has the plural suffix, but it also received a plural adjective, other, which indicates that the only true God used it as a numerical plural, meaning multiple gods. Other, by definition, denotes a person or thing that is distinct or different from one already mentioned or known about. In other words, it simply means additional or extra. So what God was saying to the Israelites, coming from Egypt, where they worship multiple gods, God was saying to them, thou shalt have no other gods before me. And notice, he said me, which is the first person, object pronoun. Me refers to one single individual being. Notice what God goes on to say in verse 4, and notice the pronouns that are used. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image, or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, plural, nor serve them. For I, Jehovah thy God, am a jealous God. And notice, I, God is saying I, first person, singular, is one individual being. For I, Jehovah thy God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. One individual person is speaking. Friends, and let me just show you from the original language. Let me show you from the original language, Exodus chapter 20, to show you that Elohim is used for both false gods as well as the one true God. 10 Commandments, and God, Elohim, Strong's H 430. God the Father spake all these words, saying, thou shalt have no other gods. Strong's H 430. Elohim is plural, but here it is a majestic plural, speaking about the greatness of God. And then God then says to the Israelites, thou shalt have no other gods, plural, numerical plural, more than one gods, before me, who is an individual being. So my friends, this verse proves that Elohim can either be singular or it can either be plural. In the first instance, God the Father was speaking, and he's using it as a majestic plural. And when he said, you shall have no other gods, before me. The gods there is referring to numerical plurality, more than one gods. So my friends, it is the context that dictates whether Elohim should be singular or plural. Sentence structure and grammar will help you to understand that. Another interesting verse that uses Elohim as a majestic plural as well as a numerical plural is Psalm 82, reading from verse 1. Notice what the verse says. God, Elohim, standeth in the congregation of the mighty. And the word there for mighty is El, the word for God. He, third person singular, judgeth among the gods. He judgeth among the Elohim. Elohim occurs twice in this verse. Let me show you the original again. Psalm 82, verse 1. God, Elohim, Strong's H430. First time it is mentioned in the verse. And among the gods, Strong's H430. So Elohim appears twice, here and here. The first Elohim is referring to God the Father and is used in the singular, since standeth is in the singular verb form. Additionally, the third person singular pronoun he standeth, as you can see, he standeth among the gods. He, which is third person singular, is used, which means that only one individual is being spoken of. It is used as a majestic plural to ascribe greatness to God, who presides over an assembly of other Elohim. The second Elohim is used as a numerical plural, since the preposition in the congregation of in is a preposition, or among is also a preposition. So we know that the second Elohim is a numerical plural because of the preposition that is used. God standeth in the congregation of the mighty. He judgeth among the Elohim. In is a preposition, among is also a preposition. So because in the congregation and among is placed before Elohim, we know that it means more than one. How? Simple. A person cannot be in the midst of or among another individual. You can be with another individual or beside another individual, but you can be in the midst or among another individual. Therefore, it requires a group, which is precisely why the word congregation was used. A congregation is a group of people worshiping together in a particular locale. Therefore, the meaning of the verse is inescapable and cannot be denied. God, a singular Elohim, presides over an assembly of gods or other Elohim, which is a numerical plural. Friends, angels are also referred to as Elohim, as can be seen in Psalm 8. For thou hast made him a little lower than the angels and hast crowned him with glory and honor. Let me show you this as well from the Hebrew, that angels are also called Elohim. Psalm 8, reading from verse 5. For thou hast made him a little lower than the angels, a little lower than the Elohim, and hast crowned him with glory and honor. So my friends, angels are also referred to as Elohim. And notice it's angels, plural. The Hebrew word translated as angels in this verse is Elohim, and it is clearly being used as a numerical plural. The word Elohim is used to refer to idols as well. And this plural form simply means gods. Notice these verses below. Exodus 12, verse 12. For I, and this is God speaking, for I, first person singular, will pass through the land of Egypt this night, and will smite all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, both man and beast, and against all the gods of Egypt I will execute judgment. I am Jehovah. So this is the 10th and final plague that was poured out upon Egypt. God's here is Elohim. God was going to execute judgment upon all the gods of Egypt. Leviticus 19, verse 4. Turn ye not unto idols, nor make to yourselves molten gods. I am Jehovah your God. So idols are also referred to as Elohim, false gods, idols. And if you go to Leviticus 19, verse 4, you will see that the word that is translated as gods is actually Elohim. Leviticus 19, verse 4. Notice what the scriptures tell us. Turn ye not unto idols, nor make to yourselves molten gods. Strong's H 430, Elohim. So idols are also referred to as Elohim, but it is in a plural form, false gods. Elohim is also used to refer to false gods by name, as can be seen below. 1 Samuel 5, verse 7. And when the men of Ashdod saw that it was so, they said, the ark of the God of Israel shall not abide with us, for his hand, notice his hand, a singular being, third person, singular pronoun. His hand is sore upon us and upon Dagon, our God. 1 Samuel 5, verse 7 tells us that Dagon, a false god, is also called Elohim by name. 1 Samuel 5, verse 7. Notice Elohim, Dagon, our God. God here is the Hebrew word Elohim, Strong's H 430. I'm showing you all these verses to make the point that Elohim does not prove or does not support the Trinity. So friends, Elohim is also used for false gods, and it is referred to them by name. 1 Kings 11, verse 5. For Solomon went after Ashtoreth, the goddess of the Zidonians, and after Milcom, the abomination of the Ammonites. The word that is translated as goddess is the Hebrew word Elohim, as you will see. 1 Kings 11, verse 5. 1 Kings 11, verse 5. So it should be very clear that Elohim can either be singular or plural. Notice, for Solomon went after Ashtoreth, the goddess. Strong's H 430. The word is Elohim. Ashtoreth is called Elohim, and she's the goddess of the Zidonians. And Milcom is the god of the Ammonites. Strong's H 430 is Elohim. There it is. Here's the Hebrew script. Elohim. So my friends, it is absolutely clear that Elohim does not prove the Trinity. Based on the evidence that has been presented, Elohim, though plural in form, is always used in the singular when referring to the God of the Bible. Again, the only true God is God the Father, a single divine being, which is precisely why singular personal pronouns are used when referring to him in the scriptures. It's the context that will determine whether Elohim is singular or plural, because it can be used to refer to the following, as we have seen throughout this presentation. It can be used for the only true God, angels, false gods or idols, or human beings such as judges or rulers. So my friends, Elohim does not prove the Trinity. Elohim is a Hebrew word that can be translated in a number of ways. When it is speaking about the one true God, it is being used as a majestic plural to denote the greatness of God. When it is being used for false gods or idols or human judges or angels, it is being used as a numerical plural. So Elohim cannot be used to support the Trinity. Elohim simply denotes greatness. So I hope that this presentation was clear. And with that, I bid you adieu. Thanks for watching. And may God continue to bless us richly as we continue to study his words to prove all things. Have yourselves a wonderful day.